welcome back to another episode of Keep It on the DL. On my behalf and Dev's behalf, we hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. We took the week off, but we did tweet out our picks if you saw them. My picks were Buffalo at -5.5, which hit, and I tried to get frisky on Thanksgiving and take the Lions, and it backfired big time. Huge loss by the Lions, 41-16 final. And the other Thanksgiving game was another 41-point showing from the Washington football team over Dallas. So 2 41-point games on Thanksgiving. And Dev, you took Arizona -2.5, and then Tennessee plus the points. Yeah, that was the one pick I shook my head at. I don't like teams going into Foxborough thinking that they're going to come away with a win. Belichick knows how to limit the best point of your offense, and the best point of that offense is Kyler Murray, and he definitely held Murray in check big time. So Arizona took the L, but you did hit Tennessee. So right now those standings are you got 44 points. I'm at 41. So now this week, Dev, I'm going to stay with Buffalo at -1. I'm going to keep them. They looked good last week. I just think they're going to go into Arizona, where the 49ers are playing now. They are done playing at Candlestick for the rest of the year due to COVID restrictions by their governor. So they are headed to Arizona for the rest of their home games, and they actually play Arizona on the road one more time. So I like Buffalo here. They put up a bunch of points in Arizona last time they played. I think that they're going to be able to do enough against the backup quarterback to cover just 1 point. And my upset, I'm going to take a crazy one here. I'm taking Atlanta plus the 3 points. I just think the Atlanta offense is clicked last week big time. And that, I just think that the Saints and Taysom Hill, it's got to come to an end. I mean, Taysom Hill's not that good of a quarterback whatsoever. They've gotten lucky with some matchups that he's been in, especially last week facing the Broncos with their whole crazy dilemma. So I think Taysom Hill's 2 wins here, it's going to come to an end against the Falcons in Atlanta. So tell me your picks, Dev.
Yeah, well, I mean, Lou, I want to touch upon your Saints thing real quick with your Falcons pick. I'm not high on the Saints at all. I think, to be honest with you, playing Taysom Hill is very hit or miss. He could throw the ball occasionally, but I mean, they still have Jameis Winston backing up. I just don't understand how they are prioritizing Taysom Hill, but it's obviously been working a little bit. Their defense is the team, though. If they had their cliche mediocre to bottom third of a defense, as the Saints always seem to have over the past decade or so, this team would not be 9-2. They would probably be a 6-5 team, maybe even a 7-4 team. So I like your Falcons upset there. I'm riding LA this week. I'm taking both LA teams. I really like the Rams going into Arizona. The spread -2.5. I think the Rams defense is really good. I like the Cardinals still, but I just can't see the Rams losing 2 games in a row like that. Goff will not play as bad as he did last week. Rams defense is just too good. I'm going to take the Rams there. That is going to be my lock of the week. My upset, I'm going to take the Chargers. I am so high on this offense. This offense is going to be prolific next year. This defense, when they're healthy next year, is going to be great. I love Herbert. I love how Eckler's back. I mean, the offense was clicking on all cylinders without Eckler. Kalen Ballage was doing a great job. But now you have Austin Eckler, who is going to be, he's going to be the next Alvin Kamara. It's going to be he and Kamara as those guys that can just run the ball, get those goal line touches, and are just absolutely amazing receivers in the slot. So I think that's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be tight, but I could definitely see the Chargers pulling it out. They are going to be my upset this week.
Yeah, I like your Rams pick. I do. And Arizona's getting 2 games, Monday night and Sunday, that stadium. So I guess those locker rooms need to be cleaned pretty well after that Sunday game. But I don't like your Charger pick at all. I just think that Belichick against rookie quarterbacks is never a good thing to bet against. He knows how to beat him. He knows how to confuse him, and he's going to know how to win that game. That's the only that I don't like. But I always don't like one of your picks every week. But that's my one that I don't quite like for you guys. But we'll see. Those are our picks for the week. And sticking with the NFL here, the highlight of the week, I guess you can say, is everything that happened with the Broncos. The Broncos had 3 quarterbacks all test positive for COVID. Apparently they were in like some quarterbacks meeting without masks on, and that's probably how it got spread. But all 3 of them, COVID, out. The Broncos were like, hey, can we have our assistant coach play? Like your assistant quarterback's coach is probably like 35 years old. Like, hey, can he play? NFL was like, no, he can't play. Like, he's not on your roster. He's not a player. He's not recognized as a player or as a free agent in the NFL. Like, he can't be picked up by teams. Like, that's not how this works. So he couldn't be. They wouldn't allow him to play. And the Broncos ended up rolling with an undrafted kid that did as best he could. Hanlon, right? TJ Hanlon or something. Hinton.
I think.
Hinton, just, I mean, we put in an awful situation. I'm not going to break down his performance by any means, but they're going to get their quarterbacks back next week, so the Broncos will have a quarterback on the field on Sunday next week. But what a tough spot for Hinton to be in. I mean, something that you don't foresee happening.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the whole situation is really fascinating to me. Well, I want to say one thing, Lou. To the best of my knowledge, the 3 quarterbacks for the Broncos, they didn't test positive. They were considered close contacts. So that's why they couldn't play.
But one of them had it, I think.
I don't think so. We'll have to double check on that, but I think they were considered close contacts with someone, and they knew that they weren't wearing the masks when they were near this person. That's at least that was my interpretation of it. But they're going to have all 3 guys back this week. Kendall Hinton, I think his first name was Kendall, practice squad guy, and I listened to an interview of him last week after the game, and one of the reporters was like, well, how you feeling, man? He said, I feel like I just played a football game. I'm definitely going to be feeling this in the morning. And he's like, last week I was selling fundraisers. Next week, I'm playing in the NFL. It's a crazy turnaround. Every once in a while, you hear some crazy story like this. Reminds me of the emergency goaltender for the Hurricanes.
Except the Hurricanes won that game.
And the Hurricanes won that game, which is crazy. That guy was a Zamboni driver, and next thing you know, he's playing in the NHL against the Maple Leafs. So, really cool. Good for him. Obviously wasn't expecting anything out of him. He actually played quarterback at Wake Forest. So he had some sort of collegiate quarterback experience in the ACC, but he lost his job, I think, his junior year, and then hadn't played since then. But the Broncos were hanging around that game, man. They were hanging around that game. I believe it was zeros. I think it was no score at the end of the first, or 3-0 Saints or something. It was close. And the Broncos, I think, had 2 or 3 first downs all game. They didn't cross midfield until way into the second half, I believe. And then the Saints ran away with it.
Yeah, and they were able to get one field goal, which was McManus's career long at 58.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In that one. Board. I know. Yep. And one thing I saw, did you see what Jerry Jones came out and said about this? He goes, someone asked him about the situation happening in Denver and whether, what he thinks of it. And he says, I really don't have any sympathy for Denver at all. Like, he said, we were in the same situation as them, and, we had to use our young guys. And that's like classic Jerry Jones, just saying how the Cowboys are always in the same situations, and it's not like they had 2 actual quarterbacks to turn to go play the game. They didn't have to turn to CeeDee Lamb to go play quarterback or someone. They had actual
Right.
quarterbacks to go and play to. So no Jerry Jones. It was not the same as the situation that the Broncos were in. The Broncos literally had 0 quarterbacks on the roster. The Cowboys had an extra 3 quarterbacks after Dak came out. And then Dalton got the concussion, and then they had 2 quarterbacks. So don't start, Jerry.
No. I mean, this guy was selling fundraisers. I don't know what that means, by the way.
Well,
To
he's probably
sell
selling
fundraisers.
He's probably just selling raffles
Like
for a
getting people to
fundraiser.
donate?
He was selling
Yeah, I guess,
stuff
yeah.
for a fundraiser. You can't sell a
Yeah.
fundraiser. You have to sell stuff for a fundraiser.
Yeah, true.
So he's probably doing that, selling raffle tickets or whatever it was, or guessing people's weights. I don't know, something something along those lines. But
Yep.
that was a crazy scenario the Broncos worked themselves into there, but they ended up getting smoked 31-3, I believe that final was. And some more firings happened this week, Dev. Not Adam Gase, unfortunately. He's still the Jets
would he?
coach. But
Why would he get fired?
Matt
He's an
Patricia,
offensive genius.
offensive genius. Matt Patricia canned in Detroit. I feel like it was the right move. I do think Matt Patricia still has a future in the NFL as a defensive coordinator. I do expect him to be somewhere next year as a DC, but just wasn't working out in Detroit as a head coach. But nothing really works out in Detroit. So I think teams will see this, and I don't think it's all on Matt Patricia. But when things just aren't going right and you're not flipping the script, things need to change. So I kind of feel bad for him, but I did see this coming. I expected him to be fired at some point during the season, or if not at the end of the year. But I do think he will have a future in this league as a defensive coordinator. But Matt Patricia out in Detroit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's any surprise to anybody. I've always been a big Matt Patricia guy, of course, from the Bill Belichick tree. He's got a great defensive mind. The Pats' defenses were always great. I just think the Lions, dude, for whatever reason, they're the NFC Jets. They can never get it right. They never make any playoff appearances. They can never get it right. They're very rarely competitive. I just think he was thrown into a little bit of a bad situation, and I think he'll definitely get another job. He's a great coach. But I just think there's a lot more problems in Detroit than there is with Matt Patricia. Even Stafford very recently, within the past week, said that he kind of wants to get the heck out of there too. Kenny Galladay is going to be a free agent as well. So there's going to be a lot of changes in Detroit this year, or rather this offseason, and they're going to be the bottom dwellers of the NFC North, definitely for a little bit. But it's very good to see that DeAndre Swift is playing as well as he has, obviously prior to his concussion. So hopefully they can build their offense around them, because obviously AP is not the answer. He hasn't been the answer in about 6 or 7 years.
Whoa, that's too long. No. Like
think?
2 or 3 years. Come on.
No.
Yes.
He hasn't been relevant since 2015.
That's 5 years, not 6 or 7.
5 years. 5-6 years, sorry.
Yeah, I would go 4 or 5 years. Don't diss AP. He's one of the greatest.
I love AP. He's one of the
No need
greatest.
to take a shot at AP. But the NFC Jets, yes, in terms of wins and losses, I guess, and so on and so forth, but at least the Lions have a quarterback for the last 6-7 years. They've had that going for them. Jets have had nothing. So that's an insult to the Lions.
Jets have had nothing. But they're the NFC Jets. And the Jets are the AFC Lions.
Jets' best quarterback in the last 10 years has been like Mark Sanchez.
Yes.
So
Sanchez.
that's it. That says it all. I mean, the Jets and Browns are more comparable than the Jets and the Lions. But you have anything to say about the Jets? You want to talk about the Jets? Maybe the one bright spot of their season being Denzel Mims, maybe? You got anything?
The brightest spot of their season was the sun shining down on MetLife Stadium on Sunday. That's it.
No, because it was bright and there was sun.
Because it was bright and the sun was out. That's it. That's the brightest spot of the Jet season. I mean, listen, dude. My best friend, I don't know if I ever told you this, my best friend is actually a diehard Dolphin fan. He lives down in Miami Beach. I used to go to camp with him up in Rockland. And every year, twice a year, we make a bet on a Jet-Dolphin game. Obviously, since they're the divisional opponents. And he called me on Sunday. He's like, dude, we didn't make a bet on either game this year. He's like, yeah. I said, dude, I've never not cared about one of my teams ever before. And I think a lot of Jet fans would agree with me. You don't watch them to see them be competitive. You just know what you're going to get with this team. The fact that Adam Gase still has a job right now, I don't understand it. I really don't understand how this guy doesn't get fired. It's just cliche, like it's as clear as day that they're tanking. You know, and I'm fine with it. And I think I've said on the show that I still believe in Sam Darnold, and I hoped that he was the future of the Jets, and he will have an NFL career, but I think Trevor Lawrence, man, he's just going to be too good to pass up. The Jets just need to clean house at the end of the year, go 0-16, which is going to happen unless they lose Week 17 in Foxborough, and get Trevor Lawrence, man. You know, I mean, that's what's going to happen. Denzel Mims, though, to your point, Lou, he looks great. And it was very scary because the first half of the season, all Jet fans were kind of making jokes saying, is this guy even real?
Yeah.
He hasn't been at the facility. This hamstring injury, like, come on, dude. Like, where the hell are you? And he finally came out, and he's been producing. With having Joe Flacco at quarterback and Sam Darnold on an uncompetitive team, he's been very, very good. He's an awesome route runner. He looks fantastic. He looks like a veteran on his routes. And he had a lot of ball security issues in college, but for what I've seen, his hands look phenomenal. So I'm really excited to see him progress and hopefully be a Jet for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing you can kind of look at and see the first two guys you drafted looked pretty darn good in Mims and Mekhi Becton. So that's definitely a plus for the Jets in this dreadful, godforsaken season for them. But that's the tiniest silver lining. That is, if Sunset was at 7:12, this is 7:11:58 with 58 seconds left. That's your silver lining of the season for the Jets. Yeah. So you got 2 seconds to look at it quick and say, okay, I'll take that. But 0-16, definitely a huge possibility there for the Jets. They're just not even playing hard. They're not in any game. Anything that's not a 14-point spread, you shouldn't be taking them. But now
having the Raiders minus 8.5.
Yeah, I guess so. They're coming off a terrible loss. They really need a win, so I do like the Raiders there as well. But from one New York team to another New York team, it is December, and the New York Football Giants are in first place. That's something that hasn't happened in 5 or 6 years. So it's a crazy feeling. You almost don't even care that they're 4-7. Yeah, they're in first place, and that's what matters. They're in first place in their division. They would be in the playoffs if the season ended today, and that's what matters right there. But obviously, the win on Sunday came with the price. They lost Jones to a hamstring injury. He looks to be out on Sunday against the Seahawks, and his status for the week after is still to be determined. Not sure if he's ready to come back in 2 weeks. I'm thinking this will sideline him for 3 weeks, and he'll be back not against the Cardinals, but against the Browns, I believe that game's against. So they have Seattle, the Cardinals, then the Browns. I expect him to be back for the Browns game, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not back until they go to Baltimore the following week. But if he's back in Arizona, that's a crazy recovery, and you just hope that doesn't re-aggravate it. It's kind of stinks that they have something to play for right now because they're going to try to push Daniel Jones back, where if they didn't have anything to play for, they would rest him, make sure he's okay, and he wouldn't re-aggravate it or tear his hamstring even more than it already is tore. But it's a huge loss to the Giants. It's not what you were looking for going into Seattle, where Seattle is a very susceptible pass defense, and you kind of wanted to see Jones take off in that game. And before he left the game, he was on pace for almost 400 yards in that Cincinnati game before he got hurt. He was looking really good. He was in the pocket. He was stepping up. He was making throws. He looked like Daniel Jones we saw last year and fell in love with. So he's definitely come around more. Maybe it's just getting used to Garrett's offense and the offensive line also coming together a lot more, giving him a pocket. They played their best game of the season on Sunday. That line did so well. And now they're going to go into Seattle where that defense is not great, and they're doing it with Colt McCoy. So that Giants defense is going to need to hold Russell Wilson to like 21 points in order to have a shot, and I just don't see that happening. I think the Seahawks offense is much too explosive, and I don't think the Giants with McCoy can get to a 23, 24 points to get the win here. The plus 10 is tough not to take because the Giants are 6-0 as the underdog this year, and I believe teams that win Monday night very rarely cover the following Sunday. And Seattle's only won one game by double digits this season. So the 10 points is going to be hard to stay away from. I think that the final score of this game ends up being something like 24-17, 24-14, something along those lines. I think they hold Russ between 24 and 28 points, but they're just not going to be able to score enough without Daniel Jones. And they're just going to focus in on the run. Seattle's better at stopping the run, so this hurts. I really think the Giants would have had a shot with Daniel Jones, but with McCoy in this game, I just don't know. And going on, keeping with the NFC East, can the Giants hold on to this first place position they're in? It's going to be tough, especially without Daniel Jones. It's going to be really tough. They're going to have to probably beat one of Seattle and Arizona with Colt McCoy, then beat one of Baltimore and Cleveland with Daniel Jones, and then win Week 17 against the Cowboys to get themselves 3 more wins and go 7-9, which I think will get you the division. But 6-10 can also get you there. But that Cowboy game at the Week 17 could decide the division if the Cowboys decide to win a couple games or not. I think they have one of the easiest ranked schedules going forward, but they got absolutely destroyed by the football team, who I actually think is going to win this East. I just think that they have an experienced quarterback. Alex Smith, I know he broke his, destroyed it, blew up his leg, but he's back, and he doesn't look like Alex Smith of old, but he looks like enough to get wins, and the Washington defense is not bad at all. And I'm going on for a while here, Dev. What do you think about the NFC East?
I kind of agree with you with everything that you said about the Giants, especially when it comes to this week. I think we're going to find out a lot about this team this week without Daniel Jones. It's very evident that Daniel Jones has been a very key part to this offense, and it's unfortunate, obviously, that he's gone down with the injury. It doesn't look like he's going to play Sunday. I did not know that the Seahawks only won one game by double digits this year, as dominant as they have been, but not as of late. But at the same time, their offense has been absolutely great pretty much all year. But over the course of the last few games, their defense has been coming around too. Jamal Adams actually had a great game on Monday, I have to say. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks. They sacked Wentz, I think, 5 times on Monday night. So they're definitely getting after the quarterback now. I'm leery about this 10-point spread too. I feel a lot more comfortable taking the over maybe. But I think that this is the Giants' division to lose, man. I'm very, very, very happy to see that Joe Judge is succeeding. This team wants to play for him. They're excited to play for him. You can see it as clear as day. And the Giants have played very, very well. Very well. Despite their 4-7 record, they have a great defense. Bradbury, right? Bradbury Jr., his name is?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a top five
awesome.
corner in the league this year.
Easily. And I think, for fantasy perspective, I think Lockett is going to have a big day as a slot receiver, and Bradbury's going to be on Metcalf. It's going to be a great matchup all day on Sunday. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think
the time of possession is going to be big. If the Giants' defense can manage to stay off the field enough, they're going to have a chance. But if they're 3 and out, Seattle's going to come down and score. It's just a matter of time.
Right.
It'll feel like it's just a matter of time.
McCoy.
Right. It really will to what he can do. But looking at because I do think this division's between Washington and the Giants. Washington goes to the Steelers on Monday at 5:00, and the Steelers coming on a short week, losing Bud Dupree to an ACL tear for the rest of the year. They're catching the Steelers at the perfect time. The perfect time. This could be a crazy upset. It really can. I do think that they're going to win a game between the Steelers, the 49ers the following week, and the Seahawks. I think they're going to get one win there somewhere. They're going to lose 2 of those games, but they're going to get a win somewhere and win those 3 games. Then they play the Panthers and Eagles. And if the Panthers have been, if the Panthers just give up and shut down McCaffrey, I can see them winning those last 2 games as well and jump into a 7-9 record. That's why I think the Giants needing to win one of these games that Colt McCoy is going to start the next 2 weeks, it just has to happen. Otherwise, you're going to have to beat the Ravens, the Browns, and the Cowboys at the end of the year. But that'll sum up our football talk here. And before we head to some contracts given out in the NBA, there was history made in the Power 5 conferences on Sunday, Dev. SEC team Vanderbilt had the first woman on a roster. She was the only place kicker on the roster. She kicked off the game. They did they tried a squib kick, and she didn't get a chance to kick the ball the rest of the game. Vanderbilt stunk. They put up no points. She had no field goal attempts. That was the part that was so sad about it. You wanted to see her go out there and put one through the uprights, and
right.
Vanderbilt was just so bad. 41-0. And I don't think their schedule gets any easier. I think they have to play a ranked team next week, if I'm not mistaken. I think they play like Georgia or somebody like that next week. Just crazy. But congrats to Sarah Fuller is her name. Was on the Vanderbilt soccer team and went out and got the kicking job for Vanderbilt. So, hats off to her, and hopefully we can see her attempt a field goal in the oncoming weeks.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, obviously a great story. And I've been seeing clips, Lou, of her absolutely bombing the ball down the soccer field as a goalie. She's got an absolute cannon. Just a really cool story. Her parents, they were showing a few clips of them in the stands, obviously crying. Very well deserved. This is a big movement, and hopefully we'll see more of this down the line for sure. But a great story, even though Vanderbilt is by far the worst team in the SEC.
Yeah, they're 0-8, and they play Georgia next week. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. They got the brains, though. They're the smartest in the SEC, but maybe not on the football field.
I mean, we'll see if she can get a field goal attempt, and they're going to have to kick off at some point, right? So she's going to get another kickoff next week. But we'll see. 0 points last week, 17 the week before, but I don't think she was the kicker then. But we'll see. We'll see. Coming up with a 41-point loss for Vanderbilt, but yeah, great moment. Congrats to Sarah Fuller, and we just wish her the best. And our advice to her be just tune out the noise, just go out there and do you. And if you have to make
Exactly.
it, if you have to make a tackle, go try and make it. Go try and make it. Go after the guy's legs. A lot of these kickers, anyway, they're all the same. They just dive after
Right.
the legs. It's not your fault if you don't make the tackle.
Right.
But hopefully, you don't get a guy on the other team that's just like, oh, I'm just going to light her up just for the hell of it on this special teams play. I'm just going to block her and just, it's just kind of like one less person you should worry about blocking on the field, and just not have to worry about it. So hopefully she enjoys playing and opens up some opportunities for, if there's one place women can get in the sport, it would definitely be kicking. I mean, their Olympic team is much better than the men's Olympic team, but not saying that they would beat the men, but just on paper and so on and so forth, they dominate. These women absolutely dominate their sport. So it's fun to see, and I would definitely encourage more of it. I think NFL would be a crazy, huge step because there's just NFL is just the best at what they do, and I think it'd be a very long time, if ever, we see a female kicker in the NFL. But definitely a start. All right, halfway through here. Let's bang out the rest. We got NBA now. LeBron getting a 2-year, $85 million max contract to stay with the Lakers. No surprises here. It's a 2-year deal, and in 2 years, Dev, his son, LeBron James Jr., will be eligible to enter the NBA draft. So it's been a dream of his to play with his son in the NBA. So I think that's what this 2-year deal is. And then I think he's going to sign wherever LeBron James Jr. gets drafted in 2023.
Wow.
He's going to be playing with his son in 2023. I think you can bank on it. I don't know I don't know how good his son is, if he's a lottery pick, if he's going to be a second round pick or undrafted, but when that time comes, he will not have to go to college, LeBron James Jr., I think. I think they changed that rule that they don't have to
go to high school now?
Something like that. Something was changing. I'm not 100% sure. Anything can change. Just kind of like how LaMelo Ball did it, kind of, where he went overseas and then went to the draft. I think something like that, something along those lines. But yeah, I do see LeBron playing with his son in 2023. That's what this 2-year deal is about.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see. I don't think that's happened in NBA history. If I remember correctly, I think I had that in the back of my head because I do remember LeBron saying he did want to play with Bronny. So I mean that'd be cool to see. Who knows? It could be with the Cavs too. I mean, going full circle. That'd be pretty neat.
It would be. It would be pretty neat.
I mean, how old? LeBron's 36 now? How old is he?
LeBron, right around there.
He's 35. He'll be 36 later this month. So he'll be 38 at the end of 39 at the end of the contract. He'll be about 40 when he plays that.
So
his first game.
I mean, I could see him signing a 1-year deal to play with his son and then calling it quits from there.
Right.
So that was his deal, and the other Laker man, Anthony Davis, is expected to sign a 5-year, $190 million max contract to stay with the Lakers. So next 2 years, the Lakers are definitely going to be front runners for that NBA title. The Lakers should have AD for 5 years, and that, I mean, I don't really have much else on. The last thing,
John Wall trade.
The John Wall trade. This is their final thing with the NBA. John Wall and a first-round pick are going to the Rockets, and Russell Westbrook is going to play with Bradley Beal on the Wizards. Dev, who do you think won this trade?
Who do I think won this trade? I've always loved John Wall, but anybody who plays with Harden doesn't have success because Harden needs a ball in his hand. He does not facilitate as many other players do. Russell Westbrook is the same type of player, which is why they shipped him off. I think Russ is going to have a little bit of rejuvenation in Washington, in D.C. It's definitely going to be weird not seeing John Wall in a Wizard uniform for sure. I mean, he's been a Wizard for about 12 years now since he came out of the UK. So I really think the Wizards won this trade, even though they gave up the first rounder. But it's going to be interesting to see how this John Wall, James Harden relationship is going to work. It's going to be very similar to the Russell Westbrook trade last year. I just don't know how it's going to work with having both of those guys in the lineup.
So you think the Wizards won the trade?
I think the Wizards won the trade. I do. I think Russ is going to play very well for Washington, and I think Bradley Beal is going to play even better for them as well. He's up and coming.
See, I kind of think if it was James Harden, I would have said the Wizards won the trade. But because it's Russell Westbrook, I think the Rockets won the trade here. Getting a first-round pick and acquiring John Wall, who I think, when healthy, is one of the game's greatest point guards. He's just below that top tier of Curry and Harden, but then right after that, I can put John Wall in there. He's fantastic. He's going back there with Boogie Cousins on the Rockets, so you have that Kentucky connection. And the Rockets still have some three-point shooters to go along with it. So, and there's not that much star power, and I think the Rockets are still going to move James Harden. First, I just do. I mean, if the guy's not accepting a crazy contract worth $51 million a year?
Yeah, something crazy. He doesn't want to be in Houston.
If he's not accepting that, you're going to trade him and get more pieces. But I do agree with you about the whole James Harden needing to have the ball in his hands and him being the guy, and him and Westbrook, at that point. And it worked on the Thunder, but at this point in their careers, they're not great on the same team together. And yeah, I think that Westbrook is going to has a chance to succeed greatly with the Wizards and Bradley Beal. But I do, it's a pretty even trade. If I think one way, you think the other way, it's pretty fair. Like, you think the Wizards won it by a lot or just a little?
No, I think it's a relatively even trade because I think the Rockets really wanted to get rid of Russell Westbrook. I think they're really trying to keep Harden. I don't think Harden wants to stay in Houston. And I think John Wall wanted a little bit of a change of scenery, I mean, like you said, he kind of got lost a little bit in D.C., never got the notoriety like these other guys, but he's always been right there. I'm looking at the stats right now. He averaged over 20 points a game and almost averaged 10 assists. I mean, the guy can play, and he's a year younger than Harden, too.
Yeah. So there's your NBA stuff. I don't know why the Wizards didn't offer go for Frank Ntilikina and Kevin Knox and a second-round pick for John Wall. That would have been nice.
Right.
Would have loved to see John Wall in the Knicks.
Yeah. I know the Knicks need a trade like that.
They do. They need to find something. They need something. Yeah. But I don't mind waiting because that 2020 free agent class is out of its mind. So next year's NBA free agency is going to be one of the craziest. So hopefully the Knicks.
Coming, so get that out of here.
Hopefully the Knicks can get somebody, get a superstar in that one. And I just saw this stat now: 48 of just over, I think, 400 NBA players tested positive for COVID in the last week, or something like that, something along those lines. So we'll see. But they are scheduled to start, I believe, Christmas. I think December 21st. I think is the opening tip off for their, I guess, 2020-2021 season. And big games on Christmas Day. I think the Bucks, the Nets, the Warriors, and the Lakers are all playing on Christmas Day. I'm not entirely sure who they're playing, but I believe those four teams are scheduled to play on Christmas Day. And before we get into baseball, Dev, there was some rumors about a couple teams looking to play their games outside so they can have fans. I believe one of them was the Kings and the Penguins, along with one other team, I think. But what would you think of them, playing games outside just to have the fans?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very interesting idea and a very, very cool idea. So there was a story that came out today on Thursday, on today's December 3rd. So it came out today that these 4 teams were exploring the possibility to see if it was possible. So it was the Kings, the Ducks, the Penguins, and the Bruins. Those 4 teams. And believe it or not, I was actually shocked. It was actually the Kings' idea to start this. Right? You would think, obviously, LA, warm climate, whatever. They made it work. I believe it was in 2014. They had an outdoor series game against the Ducks at Dodger Stadium. So they could definitely make it work if they wanted to. So the Kings told the Ducks, they kind of partnered up, and then I guess the Bruins got note of it, and the Penguins too. But the Bruins are looking in to see if they could possibly hold their home games at Fenway. The Penguins wouldn't be able to have it at Heinz Field because of the Steelers obviously needing Heinz Field for potentially all of January, depending on how the playoffs play out. So they'll play at PNC Park, where the Pirates play. I love the idea, but at the same time, it's going to take away from the outdoor games. It's still fresh in my mind. I think I'm right in the middle. I'm right in the middle of, you have to do this because this is so sick, and for a one-time thing, you could say that they played outdoors, at least 4 teams, or if more teams catch on, and fans would be able to go. I mean, if the Devs would be able to play at MetLife 3 times a week, I would have season tickets. I wouldn't mind sitting in the freezing cold weather and going down there if they were to be one of the teams. But on the other end of the spectrum, the Winter Classic isn't going to mean anything. The outdoor series games, or rather the stadium series games, aren't going to have as much value. So it depends on how the NHL wants to go about this, because they really depend on the stadium series and the Winter Classic for a ton of revenue. All the fans look forward to it a ton. We've already seen the Winter Classic hurt a little bit because of the fact that they do have the stadium series games, and it lessens the value of the Winter Classic. And they have 4 or 5 outdoor games instead of just the one on New Year's Day now. So it can go either way. The more I talk about it, though, as I talk out loud, I'm kind of leaning towards having these teams being able to play outside, but I just don't see it happening. Cool idea, and if it happens, I'll be so happy.
I just think it's going to cost them a lot of money to play outdoors for a lot of these games. I mean, in LA, ice isn't melt. The ice is going to melt in LA. You're going to need to have some kind of, cooling system if you're just going to leave the rink outside. It doesn't get below 50 degrees in LA during the day. That sun's going to be beating down on it.
At night it does. At night it gets chilly.
Yes, but enough to stay cold, but not enough for freezing.
But they do it enough for the Winter Classic and the Stadium Series where they're going to know what they're doing, number one. Number two, the refrigeration system is going to be a walk in the park because these arenas have it. So what's the difference between it being outdoors or inside? Obviously, if you get a rainy day, these games are going to have to be postponed because you can't play in the rain. You can play in the snow, though. And that's where it's going to be very challenging, obviously. Playing out in the pond in the snow, you have all these divots that just fill up with snow instead of just stoppage from your skates. It's precipitation. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of kinks. I think they can figure out a way, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. I'm not going to get my hopes up either way.
All right, and now take us through the latest on the CBA. It seemed like we were going to have a season January 1st. Everything looked good between. We were giving them praise, the NHL, for their owners and players and the organization working together to get this done. And now it looks like the league has some other ideas.
Yeah, so, after the return to play ended in September, they ran the ball. Both sides seemed to be very proactive. They got the draft over with, and they really started to figure out some things about how to get the season started, and there's really just been no movement from either side. They're trying to restructure the CBA so that it could work for the 2020-21 season with a shortened season. But I don't know. There just hasn't been enough talk. Now they're saying that the season could possibly be in danger. I hope not, of course. I eventually think that they'll get something done, but it would be so NHL for them just to throw out this season. It just seems like year after year, these labor disputes with the NHLPA and the NHL just go so sour they don't get anything done. And every hockey fan would agree with me. It's just so scary when the CBA ends. Every hockey fan is holding their breath because they don't know what's going to happen. So I hope they figure something out. It's just a matter of whether they can actually figure something out. And the January 1st deadline, that's done. They're not going to start on New Year's Day. I think it's going to be a 48-game season that starts at the end of February or the end of January, early February.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they start on time. I think having hockey back would be great that early. Because we are missing something to watch during the week here. Anyway, I know college basketball just tipped off at least, but having the NHL and the NBA back during the week would be big for fans, and I really hope the NHL figures this out. Especially, I can get more shifts at work if the NHL decides to come back. So now
everybody's getting impacted.
Yes. So last topic here, baseball. Couple big names didn't get tenders from the organization. Eddie Rosario from the Twins, Archie Bradley from the. Well, he got traded. He went to the Diamondbacks to somebody else. Where did he go? He got traded, Archie Bradley. He was on the Diamondbacks and went somewhere. And then the other one was Kyle Schwarber of the Chicago Cubs. Did not get a tender. They went with Chris Bryant. That seems to be what they're going to do is keep Chris Bryant. They're going to let Schwarber walk. Maybe look to, sign Rizzo again. But we'll see. We'll see what the Cubs decide to do. But Kyle Schwarber is a free agent. Eddie Rosario and Archie Bradley are free agents as well. And the Yankees decided to give their tenders to Sanchez. They're going. Just a tender basically means that they're offering you a contract. They're not going to let you become a free agent. So they're going to offer Sanchez some kind of contract, and they avoided arbitration with Sessa, giving him $1 million for next season. And they let Jonathan Holder walk. They didn't let Jonathan Holder. They didn't offer him a tender. So Holder now a free agent. Sanchez getting a deal, and Sessa signed for $1 million. And DJ LeMahieu still not signed. It seems like the Yankees don't want to go to 5 years, and that's what LeMahieu wants. Something's going to have to give because this needs to happen. And Archie Bradley was traded to the Reds last year, so the Reds didn't offer him a tender.
Yeah, this LeMahieu Yankees reunion needs to happen ASAP for everybody's sake. I'm starting to get a little nervous now because every day you seem to see something, a new team is popping up. It's just always, I keep seeing the Nationals name. The Blue Jays seem to be out of it now. It seems like they're focusing on George Springer a little bit more than they are on LeMahieu. But I'm not surprised about Schwarber not getting tendered only because his name was floated at the trade deadline. It seems like they've been trying to get rid of him for a few years now. He's obviously got the power, but that's pretty much it. He's left-handed bat, though, so, I mean, from a Yankee standpoint, I don't think they'll get after him. I don't think they really have the space for him, but he's a Yankee fan's dream with that short porch of right. Eddie Rosario, I got to tell you, I did not know he was tendered until you told me, Lou, but I've always liked him. I've always thought he was a great left fielder for the Twins. hit 257 this year. Pretty pedestrian, but respectable. Knocked in 13 homers and had 42 RBIs. He'll definitely get another job somewhere very easily. And they'll get a very, very good outfielder there. So,
yeah, he's a great ball player. He will find something somewhere. He can hit for average, can hit for power, has some speed, plays a good outfield. And bats from the left side. So honestly, looking at these three people that just became free agents, honestly, I could see the Yankees going after any one of these three people. There's been rumored that the Yankees may try to move Adam Ottavino. They don't have Canely for this year. Their bullpen is still good with Green, Britton, Chapman, but they're looking to add another arm, I think, especially with Jonathan Holder going down now. You see Brad Hand, Liam Hendricks, Archie Bradley. I think one of those three guys are going to be a Yankee. And then the Yankees want a lefty bat. They just do. And, without having Gardner this season, you're going to have Hicks that can hit from the left side, and then you have Frazier, Stanton, and Judge. So I think as insurance in the outfield, because as we know, Stanton's not healthy, Judge misses games, seems to be missing games every season. Aaron Hicks seems to miss some games. Clint Frazier may have been one of the more healthier ones, but even he missed games a year ago, and even I think some last year as well. So I do see maybe the Yankees going after a guy like Schwarber. He was originally the piece that they wanted in that Chapman deal, Dev, when they got Gleyber Torres. They told them no to Schwarber, and the Yankees said, okay, what about Gleyber? And then they pulled the trigger on Gleyber for Chapman in 2016?
Thank God.
Yeah. So I really see the Yankees making a play for one of Schwarber or Rosario. I think it's going to be Schwarber. But I really see them, they could be making a play here, and then I do think they're going to go after either Brad Hand, Archie Bradley, or Liam Hendricks. Even though Brad Hand, they absolutely got to him in Cleveland that second game, right? That was the best of three, right? That second game they got to him. The first game they got to Bieber. The second game they got to Hand. So I could see them going after Bradley and then or Hendricks and Hand. But that's what I think that's the Yankees are going to do here. They're going to add some bullpen pieces. They're going to bring back either Paxton or Tanaka, and they're going to get a left-handed bat. I think that's on the Yankees' agenda. A left-handed bat, a bullpen piece, and a starting piece, and maybe two bullpen pieces. But I can kind of see maybe Herman fitting into that bullpen piece, Cessaby having a bigger role, Loaiziga having a bigger role. They still have some pieces there, so I'm looking at three signings for the Yankees: a starting pitcher, a bullpen piece, and a left-handed bat. Those are the three things I'm looking from the Yankees.
Yeah, I think they have to prioritize starting pitching this offseason. Well, first and foremost, they need to prioritize re-signing DJ LeMahieu before anything else.
Of course.
But they need another arm. It's going to be nice having Cole and Sevy, 1-2. It'd be nice to bring back Tanaka if the price is right. I have a weird feeling he's going to be gone. But either which way, they need that starting pitching, and they need another arm in the bullpen. I really hope that they don't get rid of Ottavino. I just think he had a down year. I mean, last year he was absolutely dominant, and he's been a great reliever for a pretty long time. I just think he just didn't have a good year for whatever reason. You have to remember, it was only 60 games too, so in a normal year he would have 102 more games to kind of find his footing and get under himself a little bit. Hopefully they don't get rid of him. But having any one of those three guys, either Hendricks, Archie Bradley, or Hendricks would be awesome. So, or Brad Hand rather. So, we'll see what happens. I just don't think that Cashman's going to spend the money, man. He's been so frugal, and we were texting.
Well, I don't think they're going to go get stud, but he's gonna spend some money here. I don't think they're gonna get a stud in free agency because they have to pay guys like Judge and Torres and potentially a Garcia, Schmidt, something. They're gonna need to pay some guys.
Right. Yeah, I think this could be a weird offseason for all sports. But this is going to be, well, it's not going to be the first offseason in the NHL and NBA went through it. But it's going to be a weird offseason for baseball. I mean, who knows how big these contracts are going to be?
Yep, and who knows what the Yankees are doing with Luke Voit, too. I really hope they keep him. I love the guy. I really do. I really hope they hold on to him. I know there's rumors of him being traded so LeMahieu can play first. They bring in a shortstop, move Torres back to second, let Urshela play third. There's so many routes that Cashman can go. But something is going to happen this offseason, and maybe it'll come as a surprise. But something's going to happen this offseason, and we're going to see the direction of this Yankee team, and hopefully they can get over the hump and reach the World Series here.
Absolutely.
But that'll do it for this episode. We'll be back next week. We'll see if the Giants are in first place in the NFC East and if the Jets can do what they did to the Raiders last year at home at MetLife. I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
But we'll see if the Jets are still winless next week. And, Dev, you know how many days it's been since the Giants' last loss?
What?
A nice 25 days.
Wow.
Isn't that nice?
Must be nice.
Isn't it nice the Giants haven't lost a football game in 25 days?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
That's amazing.
It is a beautiful thing.
If only I told you the last time the Jets won a game. How many days? We're definitely approaching 365.
Dude, no, they did well at the end of the season last year. Yeah,
that's what
they
I'm saying.
did
We're
well.
approaching 365.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. That's funny. That's funny. And the Giants' last 3 losses came by a combined total of 3, 4, 6 points. 3 games before that.
Amazing.
They were so close.
They're playing good football, man.
They are. They're playing good football. Lost their quarterback, but we talked about it plenty. All right, guys. We will see you next week.